Today, I'm going to walk you through the 10 biggest signs of child autism that I believe every parent should know about. According to the CDC's 2022 report, 1 out of every 31 kids has autism. The focus of this video is giving you insight into these signs so that you can seek early help for your child if needed. Let's jump right in. Okay, first up is eye contact. Now, I'm not talking about your shy child who needs a minute to warm up to new people. This is different. Picture this. You're interacting with your child, whether you're just talking to them or giving them some instructions or whatever, and they're just looking past you, or maybe they're just staring over your shoulder like they're looking at something else, or maybe they're fixated on a random object in the room instead of looking at your face. Some kids will actually give you a super quick glance and then look away immediately. But here's the weird part though. They may be totally listening to you. They may be responding to you. They may be understanding exactly what you say, but the eye contact, the eye-to-eye connection, it just isn't happening. Now, one thing to remember here is that children with autism, this happens even with people that they're super comfortable with. Next is difficulty with social interactions. Now, this one can be really tricky to spot. You might think, well, my kid, he plays with other kids all the time. But here's the thing. Are they actually playing with them, or are they just playing next to them? There's this thing called parallel play, and it's where kids literally sit right next to each other, but they're in their own separate worlds. They're playing with the toys, and they look like they're playing together, but they're not. Now, that's totally normal for toddlers, but if your child is 4 or 5 years old and they're still doing this all the time, it's worth noting. You might also notice that other kids try to include your child in games, and your kid, well, they just don't get it. They don't mean to be mean, or they're not trying to ignore them or not want to play with them. They genuinely are not picking up on the invitation. Now, the last thing to look at here is, does your child initiate games with other children, or do they prefer playing by themselves most of the time? Third on the list, this one kind of breaks my heart a little bit because it has to do with empathy and feelings towards others. And a lot of times people think that kids with autism are just being mean or selfish when it comes to expressing their feelings or empathizing with other people's feelings. But I can assure you that's not what's happening here at all. Picture this. You're at the playground. Some kid falls down, starts crying. Most of the other kids, maybe they look at the other kid. They'll go over to him to see if he's okay, maybe. Or maybe the children will explain to somebody else what happened. But a kid with autism, they're still playing, completely focused on their own thing. It's not that they don't care. They literally might not be processing that someone's upset at the time. Those emotional cues that most of us pick up automatically, for children with autism, it's like trying to read a foreign language. Sign number 4, repetitive behaviors or speech. Now, you've probably heard about this one, but let me paint a picture for you of what this could actually look like. Maybe you see hand flapping when your child gets excited, or they may rock back and forth when they're concentrating. Some kids have to touch certain textures over and over, but it's not all about the physical signs. Sometimes it shows up verbally. For instance, does your child repeat exactly what you just said to them instead of responding to you? That's called echolalia, or in simple terms, it's called echoing back, what they hear, whether it's something you've said or something they've heard on TV. Maybe they recite entire scenes from a movie or a show, word for word, with all the voices and possibly some sound effects here and there. Here's the thing to keep an eye out for. These behaviors usually ramp up when they're excited or stressed. Many experts believe that it's their brain's way of finding balance, or it's soothing to them in some way. Something I want you to remember here is, if your child exhibits any of these behaviors, please don't rush to stop them. They may need what they're doing at that moment to help them to regulate in some way. Okay, sign number 5. Now, this one is like a really tough one for many families. It's resistance to change. because it affects just about everything that you do. I'm talking about genuine meltdowns here because you took a different route to school, or maybe their favorite cup broke and suddenly the whole morning is ruined because orange juice, it just isn't the same in a different cup. They might need the same exact bedtime routine every single night, the same words, the same order, the same everything. Or even when you give them forewarning about an upcoming change or a transition, they still struggle to switch gears. Now, please hear me here. It's not about them being stubborn or anything like that. Changes can feel genuinely overwhelming to them. Because for children with autism, routines are like their safety net. Somehow, routines help them to feel safe. Okay, we've reached the midpoint here, and I want to take a moment to introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Caesar. I go by Papo. That's what my grandson calls me. He's 4 years old, and he's on the autism spectrum. He lived with us here in our home for 2 years, along with my daughter and my son-in-law. And because of the struggles that I saw them go through, it inspired me to start this channel so I could try to help others who are dealing with autism diagnosis in their family. Hopefully, through this medium, we can help each other throughout our journeys. I also want to thank you for watching and ask you to subscribe if you value this content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And lastly, be sure to check out the description box below for additional help or links. Let's get back into the topic. Sign number 6, and this can be actually pretty amazing to see. It's called specialized or intense interests. Sure, some kids go through phases like dinosaurs for a few months and then trucks or whatever. But with children with autism, these interests go way deeper than that. I'm talking about 7-year-olds who know every single dinosaur species, what period they lived in, what they ate, stuff that would impress a scientist. And they want to talk about it constantly. I'm talking about every conversation somehow circles on back to what their thing is. They can focus on it for hours and hours at a time without even getting bored. It's incredible to watch. Now, the reason why this one is so important is because it can make social situations really tricky, especially as your child gets older. Now, this next sign is really important. And once you start noticing it, you'll see it everywhere. Unusual reactions to sensory input. Now, what might this look like? Well, picture this. You're in a place and your child might be covering their ears for a sound, and it's not really loud at all. But for them, it's something that bothers them. Or they might refuse to wear certain clothes because the fabric just feels wrong, or maybe a tag is bothering them, or a seam is bothering them. Maybe they won't eat certain foods because of the textures. But there's a flip side to this also. There's some kids that are on the spectrum that are called sensory seekers. They need to spin until they're dizzy. They need to press hard against the wall just to feel comfort. Or they might need extra tight hugs all the time. Bottom line here is their sensory system is processing things completely different than ours. What feels normal to us might feel completely overwhelming to them, or not stimulating enough. Number 8, difficulty with communication. Communications go way beyond just being a late talker. Now, that happens with many children, but what I'm talking about is you might notice your child talks in a really formal way, like a professor, or they have a kind of sing-song quality to their voice or a rhythm in their speech. For some kids, they might just repeat what they hear instead of actually responding to what's being said to them. Back and forth conversation is a struggle for them. You ask them about their day, they say good, and that's it. And it isn't because they don't want to talk, but because they genuinely don't know what else to add to the conversation. Now, last thing to look out for on this sign is that your child may have a very good vocabulary or extensive vocabulary, but really struggle to use their language socially, or they may need help sharing experiences with others. Sign number 9, anxiety in social situations. Social anxiety with autism looks completely different from regular shyness. A shy child might hang back for a while, but then warm up. But a kid with autism, they get completely overwhelmed because they can't process all the social stuff happening around them. Think about this. You go to a birthday party with your child, music's playing, the kids are running around, other people are talking, games are happening. For most kids, that's pretty exciting. But for a kid with autism, it's like trying to follow 10 conversations at the same time, all while someone's shining a flashlight in your eyes. It's nearly impossible. They might shut down completely here, or they may need to leave the room a lot, or they might even have a meltdown because it's just too much for them to handle at the moment. Now, last one on the list here, number 10, literal thinking and trouble with figurative language. Now, this pertains to a little older child. I'd say somewhere anywhere from around 7 years of age or so on up. Now, this one can be actually a little bit funny and can also happen in neurotypical kids, but it could be a sign of autism. Now, the thing here, this just goes to show how differently our brains actually work. Picture this. It's raining really hard outside, and you say to your child, "Wow, it's really raining cats and dogs out there." They might actually go over to the window and look to see if any animals are falling from the sky. Or you say something like, "Whoa, hold your horses." And they're literally confused about what horses have to do with anything. Or one of the most recent ones that I saw online was a barber asking a teenager, "Are you close to your brother?" And the boy looked genuinely confused because his brother wasn't even in the room with them. Jokes, they often fly right over their heads. And it's not because they don't have a sense of humor, but because they're trying to understand the literal meaning. Another possibility of what this can look like is you give your child instructions and they follow them super precisely. Or maybe you're not real specific and you just say something to them like, "Put on your shoes." And they might put on their shoes, but they might put them on the wrong feet. Or they might forget to put on socks altogether. Now, for this one, be sensitive. Try not to laugh too much of it. And by all means, help them learn to understand non-literal phrases in a loving way. If you like this video, check out this next video where I go through 3 practical suggestions for each of the 10 signs that will help you connect with your child and help them with some of their struggles. See you on the next video.